What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the final tier of the DLC, Tier 5. We have the Ancient Dragon, Promised Consort Radahn, and Bayle the Dread. So we'll just jump right into the first dragon fight. It's one of those fights where there's no targeting on his legs, so it's kind of difficult. Yeah, not too difficult from like the standard dragon fight so far. He might hit a little harder, but that's about it. He's getting a bit more aggressive now. Harder to find an opening. Alright. Started cutting that one kind of close. So this is the 4th run.
Voyage guided by compassion.
Okay, we got Meteor again. I should Oops. Okay, yeah, we got him. This setup definitely helps. I'll go over it in a second here. So is that the last boss tier? So let's, oh, we have one more boss left. So for Radahn, it only took about 4 tries. 2 tries with my original build, which doesn't have anything special. It didn't really work. But here we use the Blood and Spear Rapier and the Black Steel Great Shield so we can block and kind of poke at the same time. Then we use this set here just because it has good resist to the main damages. Like the Holy is a large part of what he does in Phase 2. And then we have Dragon Crest for physical. This is just general non-physical damage. Holy damage negation, and then because we're going to be blocking and stabbing so much at the same time, there's going to be down periods where you stop blocking and you need your stamina recovery to quickly refill, so you're going to use that. As for how to beat him, that's pretty much it. In that one there, I didn't have to worry about getting grabbed again, but the second grab will kill you no matter what. So as long as you avoid that, you are good to go. And then aside from all of these, we have one incantation. It's the Bestial Vitality, just so it gives you a little bit of health over time while you're like blocking and you're taking small chip damage. But yeah, not bad. He would have been significantly harder had I not swapped to the things that I had. Alright, and then we have one more left, but I'm going to go ahead and swap back to my standard build here. I like this build. It's kind of good as like a catch-all. Okay, and I don't know anything about this guy either. Okay, we have a new worst boss. Bayle the Dread is by far easily the worst boss. I've only fought him twice, but just the mechanics of the arena, the amount of AoE, yeah, it's just, he's above Mesmer now. At least Mesmer like felt there was a flow. This is just a bit of nonsense. I think at the end of this, I'm gonna rank all the bosses. Not really in terms of difficulty, but in terms of how much fun they are to fight. None of these bosses, personally, have felt terrible, and none of them have taken more than 8 tries. I think 8 or 9 was like the absolute most. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and rate these later on. Anyways, for that, we're gonna be doing the we're gonna be using the summon. And I can't have my horse on this fight either, which is pretty annoying. And one of the things about like the AoEs from this guy is they all stagger you. Like their area of effect, and then you get staggered. They don't even do that much damage, but it's the fact that I have to keep getting up and then running and then getting AoE'd again. So it's one of those things where it's not difficult, it's just annoying. This fight might be different if I was able to have Torrent, but I can't. It's unfortunate that like I'm gonna finish the series. Presumably, this is the last boss. This way, I would rather them have put Consort Radahn last and then have this guy second to last. What an absolutely atrocious fight, my god. Like, look at that. Huge AoE, I try to run in again, and then there's another huge AoE that just staggers me. And then, yep, see, getting chased down by lightning again. Absolutely terrible boss design. Yeah, only like 4 tries, but remarkably unfun. Alright, well that was the last boss, which pretty dissatisfied by that. Okay, well that is all for the entire mod. We've done everything here. The base game and the DLC. I'll give some opinions kind of about it in general. I would say this is probably the best mod I've played in terms of just wanting to fight bosses multiple times because the progression element is really nice. They did a good job balancing it so that if you compare it to the base game Elden Ring without the mod, inside the progression mode, you usually end up about the same kind of tier level. So like your pluses for your weapons, your flasks, those will be within like a band of +1 or +2 of what you would usually get in the base game. So the actual fights are extremely close, if not exactly the same as what you would be doing in the base game. One thing that is a little different and that can actually be a bad thing is some of the boss drops are semi-random, like talismans, for example. You're not guaranteed to always get them, so you could end up in a situation where you really need like the +2 or +3 lightning talisman, and you only have the +1, which is what happened to me for a while, just because I didn't get it to drop. So it makes some things a little harder. You can't specify your build quite as much as you would be able to do in the base game, but it's not that big of a deal. It's all right. It does make the game a little bit more of a challenge. You can kind of use like the pickled livers and other livers to compensate for that. So it's not the end of the world. So now that I've beaten the mod and we've fought all the bosses, I want to go through and make a tier list, kind of based on mechanics and fun, as a mix between the two. So we'll start off here with Margit the Fell Omen. For me, it's one of my favorite bosses. I'm gonna put him in double S. And then Godric the Grafted, also up there. They're not particularly difficult, but they do a good job encapsulating what a boss should kind of feel like earlier on in the game. Red Wolf is a very much average boss. Nothing too crazy. Renala, I like the fact that she is a magic user. You don't really see too many full casting bosses, so put her up there in the A. Star Scourge Radahn. I think he was an A tier boss. Once I go through, and do this whole thing. I'll go back and kind of adjust things as needed. Loretta, pretty average. Okay. S tier for Regal Ancestor, even though the fight isn't that mechanically difficult, I really like the soundtrack and the whole vibe of the fight. Dragonkin Soldier, C tier, like, they're not difficult, they're not very interesting. So yeah, they're not quite D tier. D tier is going to be for the ones that I just think are unfun, completely unfun. Valiant Gargoyle, B tier, he's average. Estelle, Estelle's not very difficult, but I do like the ambiance of them. Godskin Noble, I'll put it in high B tier. Rykard, I think Rykard was pretty good. Elmer of the Briar, I'll put him in S tier. It's cool because you fought so many different bell bearing hunters, and then eventually you get to fight him as the main one, and you get all his gear. The castle setting is also pretty cool. I think a lot of these bosses are going to be more tailored to the aesthetics of them because there's only a couple bosses that are truly difficult. Godfrey the First Elden Lord, I think he was A tier. I do think Renala should drop down and Estelle should drop down though. The Omen King, yeah, these ones up here, I just really enjoy these fights. Maybe it's because I've done them a lot, and on my first playthroughs, like they were very impactful for what I thought about the game as a whole. Commander Nile, I actually kind of like him. Once you get his patterns down with the lightning spear, the big jump, and then the follow up frost, he's really not that bad. I'm gonna put him in B tier actually, high B tier, because he was a little annoying. Just because like he summons the bosses, the banished knights. Fire giant, pretty cool. S tier. Loretta of the Halig tree. Put her up by the other one. She's a little bit more interesting, but not terribly interesting. Millennia. I'll rate this as low B tier. Maybe. Yeah. The fight itself is kind of cool, but she really only has one big attack. It's the waterfowl. If you remove that from her, the whole fight isn't really mechanically that difficult. And there's not too much aesthetically about the arena or the fight itself that looks as imposing as, Fire Giant or um, Estelle or the Regal Ancestor, where the arena feels like the boss is in their lair. She just has a pool of water. It's not very cool. So yeah, maybe I'll put her up here. She's definitely better than Nile, so high B tier. The Godskin duo. I will put them above the Godskin Noble. Their fight becomes really one-dimensional if you do what you're supposed to kind of do there. If you sleep one of them, you can kind of just wail on the other guy, and then you alternate back and forth. Yeah, so not very interesting for a fight, and the arena is just a bunch of pillars inside of a room in a castle. Dragon Lord, however you say this, Placid Dusex. He was pretty cool. As for dragons, he's cool. I do prefer him over Starscourge Radahn. And yeah, and now that I think about it, I think Radahn's gonna drop down a couple actually. Okay, we have Malekith. I think I'll put Malekith initially in B. As we do more of these bosses, I realize how little I like the original Star Scourge Radahn. I'll put Dragon Lich up in the high A tier as well. I really like the dragon fights. There's because most of them have a rather imposing arena. You kind of feel like you're fighting a big boss, and most of them they do a good job of tailoring it to having to run, having openings, and then having to dodge. There's a couple that we're going to get to where they don't do that at all, and they're terrible. Moog, Lord of Blood. I think he is an S tier boss. Yes, but I think he is can't be above Fire Giant. I think Fire Giant takes this spot and we go like this. Okay, Godred the First, Elden Lord. It's a pretty good fight. Some interesting mechanics. The arena feels big. He feels imposing. Yeah, I think he's gonna go high A tier. Draconic Tree Sentinel. I think it's just C tier. He's just like a bigger version of like a Sentinel. Yeah, not too much interesting there. He just kind of guards the castle. Doesn't really have a lair. Doesn't really have his own arena. Sir Gideon, D tier. Boring fight. No poise. So you can kind of just stagger him every time he tries to cast. Elden Beast. I will put him below Fire Giant for now. And Ragadon below him. Divine Beast, Dancing Lion. I rather like this guy. Renala the Twin Moon Knight. She's pretty fun. I do like her arena is pretty cool. The aesthetic of herself is cool, and the fact that she has a magic and a fire sword, you kind of got to be aware of both of them. Makes the fight a little bit more mechanically interesting because each one of them do something different. Ravala the Great Beard D tier. Don't like it. He just runs at you a lot. Uh, he's just a big bear who mauls. There's not a lot of interesting things about him, and mechanically, it's not super difficult. So yeah, there's just not a lot there. Commander Gaius. Hmm. I'm gonna put him in C tier, I think. He really isn't all that interesting. He kind of just charges at you, tries to spear you, and then runs around on his whatever he has, rhino horse thing. I don't know, whatever that is. Yeah, not a very interesting fight. And then his actual aesthetic, he's just a very aggressive kind of battle. So most of it's spent just dodging basic attacks that don't really have much substance to them. Death Knight. I would just put him in like B tier. He's just an average fight. Yeah, nothing too crazy about him. He just seems like a good, solid, like Elden Ring kind of boss. Golden Hippo. I'll put her or it above Melania. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I actually prefer him more than this Godfrey. I'm gonna drop him down. Mesmer the Impaler. So, in the middle of the playthrough, I had mixed feelings about this guy. He offers very little openings, but once you learn them, you can punish him pretty hard. However, I do feel like some of them you don't have total control over. Like the snakes, for example, there's just a lot going on at one time. You can kind of panic dodge. You usually get hit by like one or two of them, but they don't do a ton of damage. Yeah, I think Mesmer took me the most amount of tries out of the entire game. So I think I'll put him up here, honestly. In sheer difficulty, he's pretty tough. He has a cool aesthetic about him, and while he does have some nonsense, you can usually skirt enough of the nonsense to avoid just flat out dying. So pretty good. I think it's a solid boss. Mother of Fingers. Now, I really like the way this boss kind of looks. It's just very weird and grotesque, kind of just an amalgamation of flesh. So it's pretty neat. I think we're gonna put her, yeah, and maybe an A tier. Okay, I really like um, Romina. I really do. So I think this is gonna be an S tier fight for me, or double S tier fight. Putrescent Knight. Not the most difficult boss, but it's pretty cool. I like him aesthetically. Bayle the Dread. If there was an F tier, that's where he would go. Yeah, this guy is not good at all. He has a lot of AoEs, like very few single target attacks, and a lot of the AoEs really do just cover your entire screen. It's very hard to see anything. The camera is very bad. He follows the same kind of general fight as a dragon does, but you don't have a horse. Can't use torrent. So by the time he flies away and you go to run towards him, you're getting hit with by a bunch of AoEs. The AoEs stagger you. You got to get up, but he already flies away. Yeah, just a bad boss in general. Jory the Elder, I've put him down here in D tier as well. Not quite as far, but yeah, he was also pretty bad too. Midway through the fight, he starts summoning like 4 or 5 different spirits. You can kill him in one hit, but they're just irritating. And he also spams a lot of AoEs and attacks that you have to like constantly run away from, and you're dealing with the spirits. So if there was a little bit less of that, he would probably be higher up because he is pretty cool. I like the whole idea of him. He's like a faith caster, and you don't get a lot of those. But the actual execution is just tedious and annoying instead of cool and fun. Midra, I expected this boss to be more like C tier, I guess. Yeah, bad arena. It's just a hallway, like kind of looking thing. And for the frenzied flame lord, I would just expect there to be more pizzazz in everything. I want the fight to replicate, the frenzy, the madness. But it just didn't. He was kind of a very normal boss with a couple frenzied attacks here and there. Pretty underwhelming. Skadutri Avatar. I might have talked a little bad about this guy when I was fighting him, but I think he is kind of a lot of fun. He looks amazing. The arena is big and expansive. His attacks are very unique to him, and having access to torrent does cut down on some of the having to run back and forth, like the less tedious stuff. And then we have Radahn Consort. Mm, he was okay. Like if you try to fight him normally without building it to specifically fight him, the fight is not fun. It's just again a lot of spam, a lot of AoEs, and a lot of um, clutter on the screen. So yeah, potentially it could be much better, but yeah, it becomes tedious and unfun. So he might be an A tier, and then Godskin Apostle is gonna be right next to the Godskin Noble. I actually prefer him over that. So yeah, this is the whole thing. I feel like I don't really need to change too much. My initial impressions, I mean, I fought these bosses quite a few times over the years. But yeah, a lot of them it really comes down to how the fight looks and feels rather than the difficulty. Um, in terms of difficulty spikes, I would say that Mesmer was one of the most difficult. Consort Radahn and Millennia are probably the three most difficult bosses. After that, they all kind of fall in the same averageness, and then there's a few who are just incredibly easy, like Midra and Draconic Soldier. So yeah, that's all for the tier list and my thoughts about the bosses I fought along the way through the mod. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and stick around for more Elden Ring content of some sort.